This is the Pipkin and Turnbull show. It is January 1st, January 21st, 2021. Man, I have been messing the dates up so bad here lately. Episode 35. We have an awesome show. I'm excited about today's
Mhm.
show. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, and we even have a little bit of NBA on the docket. So, Jamie, what are we going to be talking about today?
All right, so today we're going to continue our look at NFL divisions. We're going to take a look at the NFC North and just kind of break down that division, the one playoff team that's still remaining, and then look at the other teams and kind of break them down for you guys. And then big NBA news: James Harden was traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and so does this put them as a championship favorite? We'll break that down for you, and then we'll look at the best and worst things we saw and preview some upcoming matchups. And we've got some big matchups coming this weekend. So, with that, man, the NFC North, what are your feelings on that division?
Yeah, this division, I think every year, for me going into football seasons, I always think that, especially these last couple of years, that this division will be a lot stronger than it actually turns out to be by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because, I think, for me, especially when this season first began, I really thought the NFC North could have a potential of definitely two, if not three in this playoffs, and then you just kind of end up with Green Bay. Now Green Bay um, is undoubtedly to me is starting to look like somebody who's going to be in the Super Bowl based on their
Hmm.
performance on this playoffs. But some of these other teams, I mean, they are so close. I mean, I look at a team
Yeah.
like Minnesota the last couple of years. Some of it has to do with Cousins' up and down play. A lot of it to me has to deal with more the fact that they always seem to get injuries. There's always
Yeah.
major injuries for this Vikings team because you look around this entire team, it's a little bit, Adam Thielen, and Stephon Diggs. That was and then losing Stephon, I think actually had a bigger impact than I think a lot of people like myself would have thought it would have had.
Yeah.
But they were kind of to me less explosive this year round just because of that. But you look around at this Minnesota team and you're just like, what is missing? And I think to me
Yeah.
the biggest thing that I can point to, even though he had like Cousins had a decent year, and it's not like he puts together good years. Like statistically,
Hmm.
he is above average, statistically, but when you're watching in game, there's something that's just missing about, to me with Kirk. It's just he besides the Saints performance last year, he hasn't really had a big win. So to me, Minnesota's always an interesting team. And then, Detroit, I look at Matthew Stafford. I think if Matthew Stafford is on any other team, we would be talking about him as being one of the best in the league. Because if you watch Stafford play, the guy is amazing. I mean, I
Hmm.
know that a lot of people, overlook him, but you think about what he's able to do with all the bad pieces around Detroit.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of feel bad for him in Detroit with the whole Stafford situation. I kind of
Hmm.
I was listening to Pat McAfee and his boys talk about it. They rave. I wouldn't rave so strongly with Stafford, but I see where they're coming from. But you take
Yeah.
a Stafford and put him maybe on the Colts or like an organization like the Colts and an offensive line like the Colts. You think about what that team would be able to do. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's interesting about the NFC North is like you feel like every year this division is incredibly strong, but then by the end, when it's all said and done, you're like, man, I don't know what this, like the Bears or Minnesota or the Lions, what are they going to do to be able to come back and beat a team like the Green Bay, like the Packers?
Yeah. 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 This division is I'm the same way with you, man. It's always I always feel like it's going to be a stronger division than what it is, because you have Green Bay and then you have everyone else, I think like Detroit is probably they finished 5-11 this year, but I want to say they're the second strongest team in the division just because of Stafford. Now Stafford, there's a lot of rumors going around that he's going to possibly get traded this offseason, which I think would be the best case for him in his
Yeah,
career because I agree. I think if he's on any other team, he's probably got a championship,
yeah,
at least one. And because he's got that talent, but Detroit just will not build around him, and it's crazy. And a lot of people that kind of will say, well, he's good, but he's not that good. He had Megatron for a little bit, and like they did well together, but they were still middle of the pack there with Megatron. And so there's back and forth when it comes to Stafford, but I think everybody can agree that he is talented, and he needs to get out of Detroit, ASAP. Minnesota is a team that I've never really been sold on Cousins, and I think he's holding them back because you've got Dalvin Cook in around his prime. You need to start capitalizing. These 7-9 seasons are not what this team is capable of. And so they need to either find a new quarterback or they need to really put Cousins in situations that he can win the game because he's so inconsistent. It's hard for me to get a very good measurement on him and what he can and can't do. And so Minnesota, I feel like they need to draft a quarterback this year. And you can start Cousins this year, but this is basically, if I was Minnesota, this would be Cousins last year. And um Chicago, I don't really need I don't know what they need to do. Trubisky played strong to end this year. So I don't know if you necessarily give him another year or do you start over there. Chicago, because if they can have an offense that can put points on the board, that defense is capable of carrying them. It's just they got to find consistency on offense that I struggle with the most when it comes to Chicago.
yeah,
And then Green Bay's as advertised, like it's Aaron Rodgers' show. It's that's just how they are, and they're leaps and bounds above the rest of the division because of Aaron Rodgers. It'll be interesting because a lot of people were talking at the beginning of this year that this is going to be Aaron Rodgers' last year since they drafted Love. Um, I don't really think so. Based on especially if they win a Super Bowl this year, you got to keep Aaron Rodgers.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, it would be interesting to. It's going to be interesting because we're coming to that time with what the Green Bay Packers are going to look like without Aaron Rodgers, and we're getting closer and closer to that point. But
Yeah, and
this
I
division,
I had said no other team of the Packers got Chicago did get in. I forgot about the Nickelodeon Bowl against
yeah,
New Orleans. I forgot totally because it was a forgettable game. So nothing
yeah,
much happened besides Saints putting just enough points to get out of there. But yeah,
yeah,
I don't know where Chicago's at because you think about what a season or 2 seasons ago. They're a field goal miss from beating that LA Rams team that went to the Super Bowl.
yeah.
And I think they would have been favored probably in that New Orleans game. When LA
Hmm.
beat New Orleans. So I mean, they're a field goal miss away from uh, probably being in a Super Bowl. And so
Yeah.
that's what's kind of crazy is with Matt Nagy trying to figure all these things out, figure out the Trubisky thing, and so yeah, I don't know, and like I said, that's why the NFC North is always so interesting at the beginning of the year because of how the pieces look all in place. and
Yeah.
just to, but yeah, real quick for Green Bay, what was impressive to me is just their offensive line play against the Rams. Whereas the week before, you saw that front from the Rams really take it to the Seahawks, and I had, it was the first, and I think I'd mentioned it to you even before they play. I hadn't really ever watched Green Bay play until they played the Rams, but that was the number one
Yeah.
thing that kind of stuck out to me was that their offensive line dominated that game. And so if they're able to have that success against LA, and then going into this game against it's going to be hard to stop Aaron Rodgers and this team if the O line is playing like that. So
Yeah.
um,
I would agree.
yeah. So some big news in basketball, kind of like what we mentioned before, is the Brooklyn Nets they get a trade deal for James Harden, and so I've got some thoughts on that, Jamie. But what are your initial thoughts about this trade?
So our headline, I should say, is are they a favorite to win the championship? And as of right now, I have to say, without any hesitation, no. The East, maybe, um, maybe they're as of right now they're third in their division, at 9-7, with Philadelphia being 10-5, Boston being 8-5. Um, I don't trust the pieces. Mainly Kyrie. He seems to be on his own little planet right now, and not completely bought in. It seems. Can KD carry them? Sure. Um, I think everyone's making a big deal out of Harden. Like he is, this all-star. Like he was amazing in Houston. Personally, I've always thought he was or overrated. Um, and I can't trust a guy that uh just wanted to bail on Houston. This is a team that trusted him as their leader, and he bailed on him, gave up completely. With his teammates in Houston coming out and saying, "No, this is how this has been for a while." And so I don't feel like the Nets are going to be a championship team. Could they win the East? Sure. But I'm not sold on them. I mean, heck, they lost to the Cavaliers. Their debut, the Big Three, their debut, they lost 147 to 135. This isn't a special Cavaliers team by any means. Like they're, kind of a middle of pack team, and they play tomorrow at 6:30. They play the Cavaliers again. So I don't know, man. It's a big move, and it'll be interesting to see where they go. But I don't trust them. I could. Will they be in the Eastern Conference Finals? Probably, but against a Lakers team, I don't see it. I just don't. You know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's my
I mean,
feelings.
here's the deal. I think at full strength, if for whatever issues Kyrie's got, if they figure out a way to get to full strength by playoff time, um, I think they have a large chance of winning it all. Just because, and mainly that's because of KD. I mean,
Yeah.
KD's performance here. I mean, he's like making 40-point games look like it's nothing. I mean, that's the form
Yeah.
that KD is already in. James Harden coming in at his side, like the first game in, he scores 30. And so yeah, I agree with you. This is not a a good look for Harden or for anybody involved with this, and especially KD. Uh, you
Hmm.
know, I I feel bad for the Rockets because I felt like they had tried to put squads together that Harden wanted,
Yeah.
or that. what he kind of wanted, they kind of always got for him. I mean, his whole
Yeah.
time at Houston, they revolved their organization around him. Um, and so I can understand the frustration with the implosion because it had to implode because nothing they tried worked, and
Yeah.
and part of the reason it never worked was Harden never stepped up when it became showtime in those big playoff
Yeah.
moments. I put it kind of all back on Harden, and I know you look at the year when CP3 was there. CP3 got hurt, but I didn't feel like Harden stepped up in that series.
Nope.
They had some teams on the rope when CP3 was there, but a lot of that came back on Harden, and so that's my biggest frustration. Kind of like with you is, it's a lot of this organization is just not good enough. Well, you've put your
Yeah.
organization in this place because they have tried to get you all the pieces that were known to them that thought that they could win. Now, I mean, obviously, you don't know what other teams are going to do. I mean, that's been part of the other
Yeah.
issue with this whole what's happening in the NBA now, with these superstars just moving around. You don't know what moves players are going to make. So you take like a Damian Lillard, which is going to be looked back as a highly respected guy because he wanted to play against the superstars. And I think when we
Mhm.
look back at this portion of basketball, what you see happen is like for me, I'm going and looking at Damian Lillard and respecting his game even more because
Yeah.
his pursuit was to win an NBA championship, but to win it in Portland, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, the biggest respect I've ever had for LeBron was the one he got in Cleveland,
Yeah.
against, that, but what was hard is that's what's hard about getting on board with teams in the NBA now because you're getting on board with individuals. We've talked about that many times, but it's getting harder and
Mhm.
harder to get on board with what James Harden is doing because he's got a lot of fans. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's interesting. I think they are the favorite in the East now, and not because of James Harden. It's because of KD's play.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing for me about KD's legacy is that um, you know, I think for whatever reason, they couldn't get it done in OKC, but then he goes and just ensures himself one. And everybody's like, well, we're going to start making sure that we ensure ourselves that we get a couple, and I think
Mhm.
that's what James Harden is just trying to do. I just want to win a championship to ensure my legacy as a player. And so you're starting to
Yeah.
see that more and more. And so, but yeah, the Brooklyn Nets to me are definitely favored in the East. And the only point I would disagree if at full strength, I say very highly championship contenders just because they've got a good core. I mean, even besides their front five, they got a talented bench as well in Brooklyn, and
Yeah.
that's the big difference between them and other teams. So yeah, I like them in the East, but the move is all crazy to me. And I think that's
Mhm.
a different conversation. Do you agree with what James Harden did? And I think that's where I find myself coming back to. It's like, nah, I don't like this of the NBA as much. I like the fact
Yeah.
that the East is stronger though. I do like that.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think you've got to. That's why you've got to respect. I think more of the the now Miami Heats of the world, or
Mhm.
back when the Spurs did it. I think we look back at those teams, and to me, I respect their championships because they kind of home grew their guys into a team, and that's what I
Yeah.
respected about, besides, Butler, obviously was, but I never knew Butler would be this big of a significance on any team, and he's proven that we
Yeah.
find him on the right team, and he's great in Miami.
Mhm.
And so yeah, but yeah, Brooklyn's a really good team. I mean, if James Harden can figure out a way to keep scoring, that's the only thing is like I don't trust him in the playoffs. So that's my
Yeah.
biggest problem with Harden. So
Yeah. I mean, like, what happens when a team, like, what happens when a Lakers team completely, like, takes KD out of the game? Does Brooklyn trust Harden to take over the game? Do you trust Kyrie to be there to take over that game when KD can't? And I don't. I just simply don't. And that's what I feel like is going to hamper them down the stretch. They're going to put together wins, and they're going to be a top team in the East. I just don't trust them if KD, for whatever reason, can't take over a game, and so I don't know. Like I said, it's going to be interesting. Could they go and really kind of, I guess, shock us all, beat the Lakers in the finals? And this is assuming the Lakers are in the finals, which I mean they'll probably will be. Um, could they shock us and beat them? Sure, but I just, as of right now, on January 21st, I don't see it. I just don't. I don't trust that team. Outside of KD, I just don't. So, uh,
yeah, so we'll see how the Brooklyn Nets look moving forward. But hey, I mean they're looking good so far. I mean they've
yeah,
been winning pretty handedly so far. So I think the East playoffs is going to be really interesting. And like I said, I think Kyrie, where he's at, is going to kind of dictate where they end up.
mm,
Because I mean, they if they end up at full strength, I feel like they definitely have the offensive game to go up against anybody in the West. If
yeah,
at full strength, if at full strength. Um.
hmm
So the best and worst things that we saw from this week. And so we've kind of saved the last portion. We got a lot to say in these last portions, I'm sure, with these
yeah.
upcoming matchups. So Jamie, what was the best thing that you saw this week?
So the best thing that I saw this week was my Chiefs. Um, Mahomes goes down, um, and can't come back, and Chad Henne comes in. This is his first playoff game. Um, and he throws an interception, couple good passes here and there, but he was able to make two big plays that seals the game. He ran for, on 3rd and 14, he ran 13 yards. 4th and 1 to seal the game, to put the Chiefs in their third straight AFC Championship game. He throws it to Tyreek, and they can milk the game. And so that just goes to show this team right now. They, obviously Mahomes is in the game. You're favored to win. You're probably going to win. Henne comes in, has not played, but in garbage time games, this whole, and like by garbage time, like he takes the knee. Um and he's able to step up and help the Chiefs get to their next goal. And I think that speaks volumes of this team. It speaks volumes of the coaching, because Andy Reid, I mean, 4th and 1 AFC Championship game on the line, and he throws it with a quarterback that has not thrown the ball this year, minus Week 17 against the Chargers. Um, I mean, that's Andy Reid trusts this team to go and win, and I just loved it as a fan of the team. Just we're it's just a good football team, and for being a Chiefs fan all my life, I've seen some bad football teams, in the Chiefs' history, and so it just feels good that we can, even if our best player goes down, We can put somebody in there and they're still going to make the plays necessary. And Chatty came out and he's like, on that 14 play, this team's giving me a lot and I wanted to put my body on the line for them. And that just speaks of what that culture is in Kansas City. That they're going, it don't matter who's in there. If they get their opportunity, they're going to put their body on the line for it. And I love that because, like I said, man, I've seen some terrible Chiefs teams, some very me guys in that red, and to this culture that Andy's been building since 2013 really came into fruition um, last Sunday, because it was like we have a goal, and our backup came in there and he put it on the line, and we came out on top, and uh, it was just really really cool for me to see as a fan that they were able to still pull it out. So that's my best.
Yeah, no, I I viewed it in a more of a funny way because the Chiefs were almost basically imploding on themselves against a team that is very beatable, and
Yeah.
so uh, the I was sitting back just watching. I was like, I can't believe that the Browns are going to come back and win this game because this Browns team uh you know and so because the Chiefs did not have a good game. They
Mm.
struggled a lot, and it was eye-opening, the struggles that they had
Yeah.
in this game against the Browns. And the best thing for me was the Chad Henne run, because somebody like me, like, Chad Henne's still playing. Henne still has
Hmm.
a job somewhere. Chad Chad Henne summoned everything, all the energy, all the something in the universe gave him the power enough to get that 14 yards. All of his the bus, everything that has gone horribly wrong in his career, summoned all the strength to get those 14 yards and convert
Yeah.
that fourth down play. So I loved it. I thought it was hilarious that, and when he took off, boy, it surprised me. He kicked it
Hmm.
into gear on that run. I think every you
He
can't
did.
say you I everybody who's watching that game was shocked. Everybody's like, "Oh, Chad's got a little giddy up." Chad, I was
A
like,
little
when he
bit.
started taking off, I'm like, oh man, he ain't gonna. There's no way this dude's making it. There is no way he's getting it. So, and so, yeah, the Chiefs, and that's what's hilarious is, going into, this week, everybody's talking about, I've seen some great memes about, the politics, and then, one meme I saw about Mahomes was, today's a great day and will always be remembered that Patrick Mahomes is practicing this week. Yeah, so, as I'm excited to see, and we expect Patrick to come back, but this Buffalo Bills Chiefs game is going to be very very interesting, my friend.
Yeah.
It's Man, that was close. Yeah, and the thing was, I mean, the I don't know. What did impress me about the Chiefs was they did a great job in the run defense. I think Chubb started
Hmm.
having some of their ways. Kareem, near the end where that time of war said, it felt like things were changing. They it almost seemed like they were on their way back, but the Chiefs defense really stepped up in those moments, especially when the offense was struggling, to me, during that game, and then just to have the way that it finished off with that run, was definitely needed. And you know what? I mean, what's crazy about the fourth down call was, um, you know, I don't know necessarily. I mean, the way that the Browns had done their last drive, it kind of felt like if you give the ball back, that they could have made it. I don't know necessarily that was the case, but that drive before. So, but I was very glad that Andy went for it.
Yeah.
And so just to you message me, you go in there to win the game, or you go in there, what did you say to me? uh
He was
to
playing to
play
win,
like
not playing not to
that's right.
lose.
Yeah, and I loved it. I knew as soon as they started lining up that he was gonna go for it. Because I think a lot of people were
Mhm.
like, okay, they're gonna try to get him off sides or whatever, take the penalty. I was like, no, Andy's going for this. Like, I had no
Yeah.
doubt in my mind, the way that they were lining up, that he was going. Because to me, if you try to draw a team off sides, I feel like you try to almost go under center. But the reason that they were
Yeah.
back in shotgun kind of was like, and great design to get it out to Tyreek, get it, to your best,
Mhm.
make sure you get it in the hands of either Kelsey or Hill, the way that play design
Yeah.
worked out. But man, I mean, it was close for the Chiefs though. I mean,
Mhm.
it, I started feeling bad because I didn't want them to implode against the Browns, and so
Yeah.
I was really rooting. I was really rooting, but at the same side, man, um, it was interesting. It was interesting. So our worst of the week. So I'll go ahead with my worst. And it actually has to do with college basketball.
Okay.
After this week, um, so um, so this week, um, let's see today's poll. So this statistic came out on January 18th. Today's poll is 1213th in the AP history, and just the 14th time that Duke, Kentucky, and North Carolina are all unranked. The last time
Hmm.
this happened was December 18th, 1961.
Wow.
So, um, so that's my worst for the week, because these guys are powerhouses. I mean, and you think that
Yeah.
powerhouses in the time of a COVID season would be a strength, but here's what are happening to these programs. Um, you know, in a COVID year like this, you being able to have senior players is a huge win for programs. Like like what the reason I have been watching more and more college basketball is that this is the first time that Alabama is actually pretty decent right now, is because they are undefeated in the SEC and they actually have beat Kentucky. But the reason I bring it up is, you know the bigger question I have is, with college basketball, um, do they figure out a way to get away from one and done? But the other question is the
Mhm.
G League. I mean, the G League is becoming so popular that you aren't getting some of these top prospects into this school. And so, I think, for programs like Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky that are so used to having these one and done freshmen, these are kind of the results, of
Mhm.
after year, you're trying to re-put these team together. Eventually, that format, if you can't get the recruits in, are kind of going to fall apart. What's interesting also with like the Kentucky situation is, there's a lot of people who are wanting, shoot, the coach's name is, I'm losing my mind, that they're wanting to, a change at coaching. And Krzyzewski at Duke, you know um I've never seen his Duke team even, I never would have imagined that a Duke team would be um unranked. So to have all these teams unranked when you think like stronger programs like them in the midst of figuring out pandemic and everything, that this would be a time where the stronger programs would be at their strength. And it seems like it's been reversed. It's like these senior class teams are having the success comparatively to the teams that have a lot of these freshmen. So I
Yeah.
think it's just interesting, that 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 all of these schools are having the same issues. And yeah, so that was my worst, just because I would have never imagined, because like you saw in football, the difference was the stronger programs seem to have an advantage this year, in college
Hmm.
football, and it seems to be kind of the opposite for Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky, who always just seemingly to be in it. So just interesting
Yeah.
to me. So I guess that's why I put it at my worst, because that's an interesting statistic to me, and trying to figure
Mm.
out this whole one and done thing in college.
Yeah. For me, my worst, I'll stay in the NFL. Was the Ravens. They showed a little fight, but not enough. Obviously, they lost to Buffalo in the divisional round. I We always put the Ravens in like since Lamar Jackson's been there, they've always been kind of like this is a Super Bowl team, but they always underperform, and I don't understand why, like it, and I just don't know where they need to go to fix it. I guess, do you because obviously they're built to run the football and then second pass it. And to me, I'm starting to believe like Lamar got his first playoff win in the wild card. Uh, is Baltimore has to be asking themselves, because he's coming close to that contract. Is this the guy? Like, is this the guy that's going to get us to an AFC championship? Is this the guy that's going to win us the Super Bowl? Or is this a guy that's going to win a bunch of regular season games and then we, don't win a playoff game? And I think Baltimore really needs to be asking themselves that, because Lamar's good, and there's no question about that. It's just, whenever you take that run away, can he throw them to a win? And he's proven that once or twice, but not nearly as much as he needs to. And so I'm really kind of as a fan of the NFL, I'm really kind of asking myself that question: is Lamar that guy? Because it's just, he's won the MVP, but he just comes up short in the playoffs, and you know he shouldn't be, and that's the thing. Now the Bills are a very good football team; they've proven that, But what was it last year? They lost to the Chargers, I think. Like it's just they 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 just don't they they're just really a big question mark for me in the AFC. Because everyone wants to put them at that top tier team, and I just don't see it. Um, and so that was my worst thing because I always just feel like they underplay what they need, like how they should. They underperform, I should say. And it was a big one in the divisional round, because I felt like they could have beat Buffalo. Um, I feel like the rookie Huntley came in after Lamar got knocked out of the game. If he was a veteran, if he had more experience, there was some plays where he could have hit Hollywood Brown wide open for a touchdown.
Yeah,
And so I felt like that was a or that was a Ravens team that could have beat the Bills,
yeah.
but why didn't they?
Well, I mean, I think the whole, as much as Lamar struggles, I think the whole team struggles in big moments.
Hmm.
Because I saw a lot of drop passes, but then also, the crazy weather that is at, Buffalo, the way that the wind, I mean, the ball's trajectory like totally changed. Like they were showing that all the,
Hmm.
so I can't imagine what it's like playing in those kind of win conditions in Baltimore. But that should have maybe came back to Baltimore's strength and just running, and that's what they've shown
Yes.
the last couple of weeks. But to me, it just, I mean, I it just gives me, I'm just more impressed with the Bills to be able to shut that down. And they did. I
Mm,
mean, they shut it down. I mean, and for the most part, the corners were able to shut down everything that the wide receivers were doing for Baltimore as well.
mm.
Besides, the missed opportunity to Brown, that was the biggest like wide open. I mean, so that whole
Yeah.
Bills defense played well. And I mean, it was hard to just see, Lamar end on a concussion. You'd like to have seen him play the whole game. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's to me, it's the whole Ravens team struggle in the big moment, and that's what I really noticed um against the Bills, because even the old line was not near what they needed to be when they played the
Mm,
Bills, and so
yeah.
I don't know why that is. There seems to be a lot more dropped passes when they are in these big moments, and so
Hmm.
I don't know, and that's the hard thing is do like, especially when I'm thinking about quarterbacks maybe in the AFC North, and I don't, and this is not like a fair decision maker, but I kind of, I look at the Baker situation and the Lamar situation. I would still rather be in the Lamar situation than the Baker situation. Even though I've
Mm,
seen, some things from, I can see it more in definitely more in Lamar than I could ever see it in Baker. But
yeah.
Cleveland is all about Baker Mayfield now. I mean, they are all, he
Hmm.
will get us there. And I personally just haven't seen that with Baker yet. You know,
Yeah.
the reason being is how does a team, how do you perform better when you have one of the best they kept saying it's an Odell problem, you know. And so
Hmm.
Odell goes out and then they get better. I mean, some of it is that, but that's just a scheme problem to me, you know.
Hmm.
And maybe it is an Odell problem, being like, hey, if I was a coach, I would try to get Odell the ball as much as I could because he's a freak athlete, but that's a scheme problem
Hmm.
where you need to pass it up. And so maybe it's just scheme problems there, but for me, yeah, it's just interesting with the whole Baltimore Ravens have to be looking at themselves because I just don't think it's a Lamar thing, and I think we all, obviously quarterbacks are going to take the brunt of it, but this is more
Yeah.
than just a Lamar problem when they get into these big games. It's like I feel like the whole team underperforms, you know,
Yeah.
because the last,
Like, why was Mark Ingram a healthy scratch?
yeah,
Like why didn't you come at him with both JK and Mark Ingram? Like why like the decision making, yeah, this isn't just a Lamar thing. Yeah, obviously he's the face of the franchise, so he's gonna get the most, ridicule. But I think this is more just like decision making in the coaching and not to say anything bad about John Harbaugh because he's a good coach. It's but there's something there like when they get in these situations that everyone just forgets what got him there. And it's just it's year after year now and
yeah.
it's just really kind of makes you question like everything that's going on in
I
Baltimore,
feel like when
you
Baltimore
know?
gets into these situations, they're playing way more conservatively than they need to play. And
Yeah.
that's what I've noticed.
Mhm.
And like that, the night, and it's hard for any kick. I mean, that night in Buffalo, I mean, Tucker misses two big field goals, which would have had them 9-17 at one point. I mean, but at the
Mhm.
same rate, there were some of them where they needed to just go. You just go.
Yeah.
I mean, you put it in your best athlete's hands and you just go for it. And
Yeah.
so I don't feel like they have that, instinct when they get into these games, like I do when I watch them at other times. I mean, other times when they play nobody, I mean, I feel like they're even more aggressive, and so you need to have that
Yeah.
same mentality. Um, because whenever people start talking up the Ravens, whenever there's even a whisper of like, hey, the Ravens may be for real, and that's what was starting to happen these last 3 weeks of the season is you better start watching out for these Ravens. You better start watching out for these Ravens. And they get into these big games, and it's just very conservative play. I mean,
Hmm.
but then on top of it, just a lot of drop passes. I mean, like
Yeah.
I know I saw. I mean, I didn't get to watch the whole game, but some of the parts that I did watch, I saw at least three drops, three just straight up
Yeah.
drops. And so
Yeah.
you've eventually when you've got Huntley in there, your players got to make a play. As much
Hmm.
as as much as we want to put it on these quarterbacks, you gotta make a play. I mean, and that's what
Yeah.
we've seen, from all other playoff teams is like, you know, these skill players got to make a play at some point. Like,
Hmm.
and it was a tough catch to make, but I forget the tight end's name, but dropping it there in the end zone, you get your
Hmm.
hands on it, um, you
Yeah.
know, um, if he's able to pull that down, which it was a
Hmm.
tough catch, but I think he could have gotten it, but it dropped,
Yeah.
so you just it's all these players in these big moments, and so um, I still like Lamar. He's got all the tools. He's got just I think he's just got to work on his awareness and timing on his passes. And if he gets that
Yeah.
figured out, it's going to be scary. If you
Yeah.
both of us know if he figures out the timings on his passing, and if maybe they figure out one more wide receiver, it's going to be scary.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would agree.
if Lamar does figure all of this out, I mean, that's what the Baltimore. I think that's why the Ravens feel like they got their guy, just because if they can figure out how to get it together and figure out the scheme for Lamar, it's going to be scary, And so
Yeah.
that's to me,
Yeah.
that's why you keep him. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, so those were our best and worst of the week. So Jamie, what I'll let you start looking at some of these upcoming matchups for this weekend.
Okay. So the big one, man, we've got conference championship games this weekend. You've got the Buccaneers versus the Packers, and then you got the Bills versus the Chiefs. Obviously, as a Chiefs fan, I will be watching the Chiefs and Bills. I'm gonna be watching the Bucks Packers as well. It's gonna be a great Sunday of football. But so with the Bucks and Packers, I feel like this game is 50-50 on which way it can go. Like the Buccaneers are more than I feel capable of beating the Packers. But what Buccaneers team is going to show up is the question, because I've seen them play very strong, and then I've seen them play very very weak. ESPN has the Bucks or the Packers favored 53-2. Um, well, 53.2% to 46.8% for the Bucks, which I feel is about right. I would give the Bucks a little more of a chance, just based on their skill players and Tom Brady. And so, but this is gonna definitely, if the Bucks let Aaron Rodgers take over this game, they have no chance. The Buccaneers defense, though, I feel is more than capable of causing fits for Aaron Rodgers, because they're very very stout and they're very very strong defensive unit from just every position. I feel just has a guy there that is just capable, and we saw what they did to Drew Brees. Drew Brees was very much rattled that whole game against the Bucks, and if they can do that again against the Packers, it's going to be a bad day for Aaron Rodgers, because they just felt like every time Drew dropped back, the Bucks were in position to intercept it, and I think they forced Brees to 4 or 5 picks in the last weekend. And so if they can do something similar to that for uh, Aaron Rodgers, this is going to be a close game. But if they just let Rodgers sit back there and do his thing, The Packers are going to run away with this, and it's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any thoughts
Well,
about the
yeah,
Bucks
no,
pack?
like I said, what shocked me about the Packers is I had no idea that their O line, you know, I mean they dominated Aaron Donald and company. I mean, they dominated.
Yeah,
I mean, and so
yeah,
they had Green Bay had their three running backs, with Aaron Jones and company. If
hmm
they're able to have any success like that, there's no way. I mean, there really shouldn't be any
yeah,
way if the Packers come out and just play like they played against the Rams. I don't I you know
hmm
I don't see them. I don't see Tampa having much of a chance. You know,
yeah,
like you said, I mean Tampa's defense this whole year has been talked up. They've been up and down. Uh, but they've been pretty good against the run. They've
yeah,
been pretty routinely good at that. But the Rams were too. I mean, and so if the
hmm
O line of the Packers can dominate like they did against the Rams, and you give Aaron Rodgers time and Devontae Adams time, that's going to be rough. I
yeah,
mean, and so
yeah,
I definitely like the Packers in this game, but I like the Saints in the game before. So it's Tom Brady though. I mean, it's playoff Brady.
hmm
So do you go
yeah.
against playoff Brady? And you can't until it's fourth quarter
uh,
0-0 on that clock. It's like you don't know what's going to happen. And that's what happened with
yeah,
because I still feel like the Saints are better. Overall, we're a better team. You know, um,
hmm
I think not having Taysom Hill was a big part of why they weren't able to get things done. Taysom Hill has become a major factor for the Saints. Um,
yeah,
so, um, yeah, I definitely like the Packers. But I know that Bruce Arians has some plans for this game, so that's why I can't say this is a
hmm
done deal. Because like I
yeah,
said, you never know with playoff Brady. And that's the same with Tampa
yeah,
Bay's running game. They need to figure out somehow to get their runners going. And I think
hmm
they're down their starter. I think they're up to Leonard Fournette. I think is going to be getting the start. I'm not positive on that. Um, but definitely old line play though, Jamie. I mean, like I know I keep going back to this point, but I haven't seen an old line for any NFL dominate the way that old line did. And
yeah,
against a front seven like the Rams have, that's
yeah,
what's so impressive about it. It wasn't just the
yeah,
fact that they dominated, but they dominated against probably one of the best D lines in the game right now.
yeah,
And so, I mean, that's why Aaron in his press conference mentioned that, said that from the very get go that they controlled the game. And so
hmm
that's that's what's scary about the Packers right now. Not only that Aaron Rodgers is this good this year, but that he's got time to be this good.
yeah.
you give you give
Agree.
you give Aaron Rodgers time to be that good, it's going to be scary.
Yeah,
So
I would
I
agree.
I can't go against the Packers just for that reason. But it like I said, I can never say that Tampa Bay doesn't have a chance because they got playoff Brady. So
Yep. Don't.
uh,
It's hard to bet against Brady, but whenever the other quarterback's Aaron Rodgers, like it's
yeah.
still hard to bet against Brady, but it's hard to bet against Rodgers as well.
Yeah.
And so it's just crazy. I'm gonna man this NFC Championship game. I feel is gonna be a really really good one. So then we move on to Buffalo and Kansas City, and this game comes down basically for me. And trying to put my bias aside, Mahomes plays, the Chiefs win. Like we've already beat Buffalo once this year, and it was in
See,
Buffalo.
you've gone back to
Um,
that every week. You've gone back to that,
I
man. You've
know,
gone
I
back to that
know,
one game.
and that's it. Like we've proven that we can beat the Bills. Can the Bills beat us? I don't
Yeah.
know if they can. And so if Mahomes plays, Chiefs win. If Mahomes don't play, it's gonna be Buffalo. And I find it interesting. Say if the Buccaneers beat Green Bay, Buffalo beats Kansas City. How hilarious would it be for Tom Brady once again beats the Buffalo Bills and costs them, a championship?
Yeah.
Like that would just be hilarious because all those years they shared a division. Tom Brady owned them. They finally get to the Super Bowl and they lose to Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Like
That would
that
be
would just be
funny.
hilarious.
Yeah.
But ESPN has the Chiefs at 58.3% and Buffalo at 41.7%. Man, this is the Chiefs game. We've been here. Buffalo hasn't. They've got that experience in this game now 3 years in a row. Buffalo has not been here since like the 90s. It's just this is the Chiefs game. But it comes down to who's under center. Like you always say, who's the better quarterback? And this is a hard one because Josh Allen is not a bad quarterback. He's very good, but he's living in the Mahomes era. And he's always, I feel, going to be overshadowed by Mahomes. So who do you take?
Well,
Do you take
I
Mahomes or do you take
I
Allen?
say that when it's a draw at the teams. But the way that this
Okay.
this Bills defense has been playing
Okay.
up to this point, this is you know a much better defense than the Browns defense. And
Okay.
so um I I'm still leaning the Chiefs, but this ain't no
Mm-hmm.
like it's 50-50. This ain't no uh I don't know. I don't know, man. I love it though. I love that it's Chiefs, Bills, and Packers, Tampa Bay. I love these games. I
Yeah.
love it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know Chiefs Bills. Last year I definitely felt like the Chiefs ended up winning, but the Chiefs should have definitely won those games. This is like the first time to where I'm like, I have no idea who's going to win this game. And it'll
Okay.
come down to just, um, you know, how the Chiefs do against can if Allen gets hot, what did the Chiefs
Mm-hmm.
defense do? I mean, is this going to be high scoring, low? It's and here's the thing. I mean, how good is Patrick Mahomes health wise?
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. I mean, he's got turf toe, he's
Mm-hmm.
got everything else going on, and you know
Mm-hmm.
they struggled against the Browns.
See, and you keep saying they struggled against the Browns. If Mahomes doesn't go down in that game, they blow the Browns out. Like I really feel like they were about to blow them out.
Nope.
And because the Browns had no answer on offense, they couldn't get anything going. And then Mahomes goes down and they kind of score. Butker misses some field goals, but I'm feeling like if Mahomes does not go down in that Browns game, it's not close. It's definitely not 22-17. Because like I just feel like they Mahomes was getting to that point where he was starting to get hot, where he was getting like their first 3 drives they got points, and then Mahomes goes down and they don't score anymore. I think they might have got a field goal, but so I don't know, man. This game just doesn't feel like a game that's going to be close to me, and maybe that's just hubris. I don't know, but I just feel like this Buffalo team is good, but I don't feel like they're this good, not yet.
Yeah.
And I don't
Like
know.
I've
I
said
feel
all
like this is just
season.
gonna.
Last year I didn't believe in San Francisco. They made it. And then
Yeah,
this year it's the same with the Bills. You haven't believed the Bills yet. So like it
I
all
know.
comes to this climax, man.
Maybe this is your San
Yeah.
Francisco. I hope
Yeah.
not.
You know.
I really hope
No,
not.
I hope not either. I mean, I'm definitely I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I definitely will never go against Mahomes, especially with the weapons he has. But
Hmm.
yeah, this I mean, I and conditions, weather conditions did play a factors in the Buffalo game and the Ravens game.
It's supposed to be cold and rainy, and Arrowhead, the wind to Arrowhead is a lot like Buffalo. And they're saying it's supposed to be cold and rainy this
Yeah.
Sunday. It's Missouri weather, so that could change to 80s and sunshine
Right.
between now and
Right.
then. But you know, like, and Buffalo lost their starting running back,
See,
Zach Moss.
I feel confident that the Packers will win. I literally have no idea for Chiefs and Bills. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't. Like I don't
and see,
have
I'm the other way around.
yeah. I have
So
like um you know, and I what I do like about what's happening is for me, I'd like to see the Chiefs be in the Super Bowl, but I'm excited for any of these teams to get into the Super Bowl. I guess
yeah,
because I
yeah,
really what I really want to see is Mahomes versus Rodgers. I really want to see
yes.
that. That I mean,
Yeah, we
I know
we
it's
we didn't get to
I
see that last
I
year
know
because of his
it's
knee.
I know it's like scary for Chiefs fans, but like I love that matchup. I love that matchup a
Hmm.
lot. So I mean that's what I'm kind of hoping for. But I really want to see like a healthy Mahomes. I want to see
Yeah,
Mahomes like at his best, and I mean, the concussion is one thing, but the turf toe has me a little bit more nervous for the Chiefs than even the concussion.
the chief said that the toe is no problem. He doesn't have a concussion. It's a like a nerve in his neck
Okay.
that caused him to pass out. He doesn't. They put him under concussion protocol because he passed out on the field
Yeah.
because of that nerve,
Yeah.
and then he got a question wrong, and nobody knows what that question was. But so that's why they put him in concussion protocol. But as of yesterday, he practiced.
Yeah.
He was a full go, and he has no symptoms. So, like there, he's playing. Like everyone's like,
No,
is it? It's up in the air, but
no,
he's gonna
no. I mean,
play.
even when he left the game, I knew he was playing next week. Like I don't have
Yeah,
any
yeah,
doubts that he's playing. My only
mm,
doubts were what's his health level at and does
hmm,
the foot affect him? Because part of
yeah,
his game is that he improvises so cleverly, and if
hmm,
he's not able to do that, what is this defense going to do against him?
yeah,
That's a big factor. I mean, because that's the way
yeah,
he plays. Is he improvises. I mean, that's what makes him
hmm,
special. There's
hmm,
no way there's
yeah,
no way around that. His mobility. How he describes it is he's fast enough. Is he going
yeah,
to be fast enough against the Bills?
yeah,
That's my only thing. Because the Chiefs' running game hasn't shown that it can help at all.
yeah,
They won't. They've got is Mahomes passing it around to Kelsey and Hill. That's what it was
yeah,
against the Browns. Will that be enough?
yeah,
And so
yeah,
that's what's going to be interesting. And what I like about Chiefs defense is you've got Tyron Matthew. So you got the Honey Badger. Played lights out. So you've got to get another game like that from
hmm,
him. So I'm still
yeah.
waiting on Frank.
I would
I gotta
agree.
wait on playoff Clark though. Still waiting. He did.
He's coming.
He almost got there last week, but I'm still waiting for Frank. So
He's coming.
man, but yeah, I genuinely like I've been going back and forth on the Bills Chiefs thing. So I mean, I don't have a solid feeling of the game because I'm like, I think the Bills may win. And I'm like, well, Chiefs have just so much. They've just got so many weapons. I'm like, the Chiefs are gonna
Yes.
win. So I keep going back and forth just because, like, yeah, and the thing is, this Bills team, post the Chiefs loss, are a lot different team.
Yeah.
And so the way that they trended the rest of the year. So, um, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great game. So,
Mhm.
uh,
Yep.
but um, yeah, I still probably a little bit favor the Chiefs just because of Mahomes, as always. So that's our
As
show
always.
for this week. I'm sure we have an awesome show because we will be doing our Super Bowl preview and looking at the
Yeah.
past games and seeing if our picks get in there or if something tragedy occurs here in the Turnbull household.
Oh,
Yeah, and so there will be an awesome show next week. As always, let us know what you think of the show. Always tune in. And we will see you next week.